Good work, Mario.
Good work, Bernie.
How are you?
Just move down a bit more.
Good.
I can't see you. Standing. I need chairs and mics. Hey. Did she go in?
No, I didn't. I said healthy.
Helene has pneumonia?
How are you, Mario?
Good. How are you?
How was your Shabbos?
Quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you go to Gabriella?
No, we finally stayed home, but Anna had the surgery, in
Right.
the eye.
Well, she finally had it?
What surgery?
Yeah.
Cataract surgery.
hmm
Everything okay?
Yeah, she's having the next eye in 2 weeks.
Who's the doctor?
Okay.
Savar, something like that.
David Savar?
The youngest of the three.
Ah,
No,
okay.
Can you give me a tissue, please?
I think it's David, yes.
No, David's the old guy.
Oh, no. Then the young one is Louis or something like that. I don't know.
Hi, Harold.
Well, hi, good luck.
I'm not,
How are you?
Say hi to Barbara.
How are you,
It's okay.
Timmy?
It's okay.
Is tomorrow Hani's birthday?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Shavua Tov.
What,
Shavua Tov.
how did you remember, Faggy?
my grandson put it in my phone. I don't know.
That's so clever. Oh, we better call it.
Aren't you glad I reminded you?
No kidding.
Yes, last week was Shlomo's birthday.
All right, nice. Very nice.
Okay, good luck, everybody. Mario,
Yes?
I think you have to mute.
No, I opened the door 1 second. You won't hear anything.
Thank you. Okay,
Just wait a few minutes.
okay. Hope everybody's family is okay and everybody is doing well.
Thank God.
Okay,
Magda, my daughter's cooking in your kitchen. She's on mute.
Oh, okay, now you can say.
Hi.
I think they're in the pool right now.
Oh. So cute.
okay. We are on Melachim, Aleph, Perek Yud Beis, Pasuk Chaf Hey. Last week, there's been a split between Rechavam and Yeravam. Rechavam was chased back to Yerushalayim. He gathered 180,000 soldiers, but they got a nevuah from Hashem that they should stand down and not go fight. So they realized that Yeravam's coronation to be the Melech was authenticated by Hashem. We know that Achiyah Shiloni, the Navi, had told Yeravam that he would be king. We had a discussion, did the people know about that or not? Obviously, from that scenario that we learned last week, they did not know about that nevuah, but they became aware of the fact that Hashem has decreed that the Malchus should be divided. So Yeravam set up his Malchus in Shechem. So we get introduced to the Malchus of Yeravam, Ben Nevat. Vayivan Yeravam at Shechem Bar Ephraim. So he built up Shechem. It was a city, the Radak says, but he chose it to be his capital city. So he strengthened it and made it larger. Vayeshev ba. There's Bahar Ephraim. He's from Shevet Ephraim. Vayeshev ba, and that's where he dwelled. But Vayetzeh Misham Vayivenes Pnuel. They built a second sort of city, maybe a place to escape to, or a second metropolitan city for his kingship. Now, the Kilas Yaakov says that Shechem had been given to Yosef by Yaakov Avinu. In Bereshit it says, "Vani nasati lecha Shechem achad alachecha." So this was Yosef's city, and Yeravam, coming from Shevet Ephraim, who's one of the children of Yosef, thought that it would be skula to create his capital city in Shechem. Pasuk Chavav. Vayomer Yeravam belibo. Atat hashuva mamlacha leves David. Here the Navi Yirmiyahu reveals to us that even though Yeravam was successful in his rebellion against Rechavam, Malchus Beis David, he had fears in his heart. The Yalkut Shimoni brings other examples, like Vayomer Esav Belibo. We had it this week. Esav thought to himself, he's gonna kill Yaakov. And what did he have? What was he fearful for? Pasuk Chavzai. Im Yaleh Amazeh, if he understands that 3 times a year, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, there's a mitzvah of Aliyah L'Regel, that the Jewish people go up to Yerushalayim, offer korbanos. So he said, the people in my kingdom and the 10 Shvatim are going to go up to Yerushalayim, offer korbanos. V'shav leva amazeh el adonehem. The people's hearts are going to return to their previous master, El Rechavam Melech Yehuda. They will then follow again Rechavam. And then they'll be convinced to turn against me, Varaguni. V'shavu El Rechavam Melech Yehuda. So, as kings are wont to do, he was concerned about the safety of his reign. They're going to see the kavod of the Beis Hamikdash, the capital of Yerushalayim, where people had been coming from the whole world to visit. Shlomo Melech had poured gold and silver into the city. And Yeravam is not discounting the ruchniut that they would be mashpia in the Beis Hamikdash. And maybe they're going to have longings for that type of life again. People are going to also, even between the Shalosh Regalim, people go up to bring korbanos, korban toda, korban nedava. And he was concerned that they're going to fall under the spell of Rechavam again. And they're going to remember that I'm the one that took all of this good stuff away from them. But we have Chazal. And let's learn some Chazal about the haughtiness, the Gasos HaRuach of Yeravam. It says in Sanhedrin Kuf Aleph, Rav Nachman, Gasos HaRuach, Shahaya bo Yeravam tirdosim min ha'olam. It was Yeravam's pride that got rid of him in the world. Shenemar, Vayomer Yeravam Belibo Atata Shuva Mamachol Beis David. Im Yale Amazel Lasos Vachim Veis Hashem, and this whole pasuk. Bring me the Gemara here. Omar, Gemiri, the Ein Yeshiva Bazar Lamachem Beis David Uvad. There is a Masorah that in the Beis Hamikdash, in the area of the Azara, the only people that can sit are the Malchus of Beis Yehuda. Kivan the Chazule Lirachvan, the Yosef, Anak Kamina. So the people are going to see Rechavam sitting and me standing. Savri Ha-Malka V'Ha'avdam. They're going to think Rechavam is the real king and I'm his servant. The Yasivna. Now, if I'm brazen enough to sit, Morid b'machas v'katlan lei, I'm going to be viewed as a Morid b'machas, and I'm going to kill him. V'ozlu basrei, and still follow Rechavam. So that's the haughtiness that Rav Nachman is referring to, that it was Yeravam concerned about COVID that started this whole process. There's another Gemara in the Yerushalmi, in the first page of Avodah Zarah. On Rav Yosef Bar Yaakov, b'motzei Shmita Malach Yeravam Yisrael, that Yeravam began to rule in the Motzei Shemitah year. Now, we know there's a pasuk in Sefer Dvarim, Mikeit Sheva Shanim b'moed Shnat HaShemitah b'Chag HaSukkot. Those of you who've been to Israel in the year after Shemitah, on Sukkot, b'vo kol Yisrael le'ra'ot et Hashem Elokecha b'makom asher yivchar, tikra et haTorah zot neged kol Yisrael b'ozneim. It's the mitzvah of Hakel. And those of you who've been there, you've seen hundreds of thousands of Jews gather in the plaza, and they read Sefer Dvarim. And Omer Ano Misri Mikri Koimano. The Gemara says Yeravam had in mind that he would read the Parsha first. Why? Because he's a king over 10 Shvatim, and Rechavam is king only over 2 Shvatim. Now, the Anshe Yehuda would say, but our king, this Yerushalayim is the city of Judah, and Rechavam is king here. So they're going to want Rechavam to read first. And then Yeravam says to himself, if I read second, it's embarrassment to me. If I don't read at all, it's also an embarrassment. So you see, Chazal are focusing on some of the bad traits that he had that led him down this path. Chazal teaches something else. In Masechta Sota, Dal Amud Beis, on Rav Yochanan Mishum Hashem ben Yochai, Kol Adam sheyesh bo gatzas haruach, ki'ilu oived avodas kochav. Somebody who was haughty, who has a lot of pride, it's as if he worshipped avodah zarah. We know Yeravam's downfall is going to be because he is a choite umachti. He causes Klal Yisrael to worship avodah zarah. This is what the Mesilas Yesharim, the Ramchal, wrote about COVID. Yisera aleichem das COVID. People who run after COVID. Ki kvar haya efshar yichbo sha'adam es yitzru ala mamon ve'al shara nos. Human beings can control their taiva for money and other pleasures. Acha COVID hu adoichek. The Mesilas Yesharim, who the Hasidic masters told us to study because it clarifies our midos, it sharpens people's midos, says that the hardest thing for a person to conquer is the Yetzer for Kovet. It's very hard for a person to see him be less than his neighbor. And that's why Yerovam ben Nevat was lost his Olam Haba because of this midah. Pasuk Kafches. Vayivaetz HaMelech. So Yerovam takes advice with his advisors. Vayas Shnei Eglei Zav. They made 2 golden calves. Vayomer Alehem Rav Lachem Elos Yushalayim. You know, up until now, you've been going to Yerushalayim. You don't have to go anymore. Hinei Elohecha Yisrael, Asher Elucha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. Here is your God. Here is the God of Israel that took you out of Egypt. Now, how did Yerovam convince Klal Yisrael to seduce them to worship Avodah Zarah, to do this? Here, so far, the calves have been set up in Shechem. The Radak says, Halo yadatem ki al malchus nechlecha b'rtzon hakel. Yerovam tells the people, you see now that there was a nevuah to me, b'achia shiloni, that the kingdom should be divided. So the fact that we have a divided kingdom is something that Hashem wants. Im kein hayalo ratzav the malchus beis David. So Hashem has rejected malchus beis David. V'lo ratza gam ken b'Yushalayim shul malchus beis David. He's rejected Yerushalayim. Now, the Radak points out that Hashem never had said that through Achia Shiloni. He never said, I'm rejecting Malchus Beis David. But there's a kernel of truth. Wasn't it Goebbels who said it? That, you know, you say a little bit of the truth, and there, people will believe the whole thing. They could have accepted, because some of what he said was true. That Hashem didn't want Malchus Beis David to rule over Gans Klal Yisrael, only part of Yisrael. So that's, the Radak gives us a hint into what the propaganda masters are going to do. Give them a kernel of truth, and they'll build on that. So Yerovam told them, let's also make a place that the Shekhinah can dwell, and people will come and do korbanos there. He wanted to say there's not an Isser of Shchutei Chutz anymore. Normally, when Hashem has chosen Yerushalayim, there's an Isser to shecht korbanos outside of Yerushalayim. But since Yerovam is developing the narrative that Hashem has rejected Yerushalayim, so there's no Isser of Shchutei Chutz. Now, why did he choose a calf? So again, the Radak says, Aaron HaKohen also made a calf for the Shekhinah to dwell there. Aaron HaKohen, when he made the Egel Azov, he never built it as a vehicle to worship. It was as a sarsur, as an intermediary, because Moshe Rabbeinu had not come down, and Klal Yisrael was used to having an intermediary between them and the Shekhinah. So it was just b'makom Moshe. So,
But Ernie, excuse
Yes.
me, Ernie, I'm sorry.
yes,
But
please.
it's still, but the calf was reminiscent of dire consequences. So although Aaron had the intention for the Egel to be a representative, but still we see what the consequences were. So you would think that it would not be such a good choice.
But remember, eventually people worshipped the calf. 3,000 people were killed.
Right.
But
That's what I'm saying.
But Aaron didn't build
That
the
was
calf.
he
Aaron
what?
never had in mind when he built
Of
the
course,
Egel.
that was not his intention as a representative until
So-
Moshe returned.
So
But
your
still
Ravam is
seeing the consequences. Okay.
right, but your Ravam is using it as an excuse. If Aaron did it, then we can do it.
Okay.
And that the Egel that he's building is going to be for the hashros of the Shechina itself. And the way the Radak is learning here, that Yerovam never had in mind Avodah Zarah. We're going to see. This is a big debate, whether these were set up for Avodah Zarah or not.
So Ernie, the Abarbanel has a different interpretation. It says that just like Yehuda, the symbol of Yehuda is the lion, the greatest of the wild animals. So too the ox, in this case the calf, is a symbol of the greatest of the domestic animals. And so, and it's also whereas the symbol of the ox is the symbol of Yosef. So that's why Yerovam chose that as a symbol, chose the calf because it was a newly created state of 10 of the 10 tribes.
Very good. We're going to get to the Abarbanel. Very good. And the Ralbag has a shot as well, but it says Bechor Sharo Hadar Lo, which is the bracha to Yosef, which is what Bernie was referring to, that the ox is a semblance of for Yosef. But actually, Barbara's question is the question that's asked by the Iyei Hayam. How could the people fall for this? Because exactly, came out of the Egel, people were killed, so they knew that the Egel wasn't a good thing. But, like we've just explained, most of the Rishonim hold that the Klal Yisrael then did not have a havamina that this was Avodah Zarah. We're talking about the Egel Azov in the Midbar. They said that it's an intermediary, like we've just said.
But the Lashon of sorry.
And that's the majority of Klal Yisrael. That they wanted, it was all L'Shem Shammai. And therefore, the Yeravam sort of mined that vein that they had in there. And perhaps some of them were seduced by that. The Ralbag says, like it's the Ralbag who says, since Hashem has rejected Yerushalayim, they can be makriv outside of Yerushalayim, and it's not called shchutei chutz. He also appointed, we're going to see soon, other kohanim, because remember we talked about the period of time when they could worship at a bama. You didn't need a Kohen at a bama. So the same thing here, you didn't necessarily need Kohanim. But he made the agolim that there would be a kvias makom. This would be the place that they would offer their korbanos, that the Shechina is at a certain place. But the Ralbag is also wonder, how could the Jewish people have accepted that? To bring korbanos bachutz after there's an Isser. We said once Shlomo Melech built the Beis HaMikdash, there's prohibition of the bamas. And how could they believe in this? So the Ralbag says, Kilo Osku Yisrael b'Torah. They didn't learn enough Torah. And they already seen in the time of Shlomo Melech that all sorts of untoward things were going on there. The foreign wives, the various Avodah Zarah that was going there, going on by his wives. And it became more normal to sin throughout Israel. So when he said that you don't have to go up to Yerushalayim, it was more acceptable. The Abarbanel also learns that Yeravam did not make these agolim initially for Avodah Zarah, because he knew Klal Yisrael wouldn't accept it. And like he said, like what Bernie said, L'zecher u'l'simin l'malchuso shel shevet Yosef, shahaya shor al shem, b'chor sharo hadar lo. Now remember, Shlomo HaMelech built 2 pillars in the Beis Hamikdash. Tis l'zecher David u'Shlomo. So these calves is Yeravam doing it to remember Shevet Yosef. So again, so we have multiple opinions, at least in these Rishonim, that said that Yeravam's kavanah was not al avodah zarah. And by saying these are the gods that took you out of Mitzrayim, he wanted to tell them, don't think that that Elokah is only sitting in Yerushalayim. He's not mukbal to any one place. You can reach HaKadosh Baruch Hu anywhere. Any place is a place roy to serve him. So as well, Gam here, this is Elokecha Yisrael Asher Alucha Me'etz Mitzrayim. However, it's a slippery slope. Eventually, we know they worshipped it as a avodah zarah. So it's all a slippery slope.
Ernie, the Abarbanel has a different interpretation, compares the pasuk in Kisisa, but the Egel Azav, where it says Eile Elohecha Yisrael, to this pasuk where it says Hine Elohecha Yisrael. So and it says that there it was a dafka in Kisisa. When the Moshe Rabbeinu didn't come down, it was an idol worship, form of an idol worship. Whereas here, Yeravam's point was not that he says hine here, meaning here, as opposed to just Yerushalayim, that you could worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu anywhere, not just in Yerushalayim. And God is here, God is there, God is everywhere, and he was not doing this in terms of creating idol worship.
Right, exactly. So the Rishonim that we quoted, the Ralbag, the Abarbanel, the Radak, they seem to be going along this line, mainly because of Barbara's concern. How was he able to seduce the people if it was really built for Avodah Zarah? But Chazal are different. They say that it was all, Yeravam put it up for Avodah Zarah. He just didn't say it clearly because they wouldn't have listened. Let's see where Chazal say that. Again, this is also from Sanhedrin, Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph, Kuf Aleph Amud Beis. It says Rav Yehuda. When it says Vayivoat, it says Yeravam took advice. What advice did he take? He gathered all the Chachamim in the 10 tribes, and he sat a Rasha next to a Tzaddik. He asked them, I want all of you to sign a document that you agree that I'm going to be the king. Amar lehein. They agree. Amar lu malka be'ina l'mevi. Do you agree that I would be the king? Amar lehein. They said yes. Called aminu l'chavidet to everything I tell you, will you do? Amar lehein. They said yes. Afilu l'michlav l'avodah zarah. What if I tell you to worship avodah zarah? Amar le tzadik chas v'chalil. So the tzaddik said, absolutely not. Armale Rasha le tzaddik. So the Rasha who was sitting next to the tzaddik said, Salgadaita, the Gavra Kirvam Polach Avodah Zarah? What do you mean? You have a Havamina, you have a thought that your Ravam is going to worship Avodah Zarah? Elalim in Sinuhu the Kaboy. He's testing us here. I kablusi lememra or not? Are we accepting his pronouncements as king or not? V'af achia shiloni ta'a. Achia shiloni the Navi. Ta'a v'chosam. He signed that document that he would accept everything that Yeravam would say. Now, how do we know that Achia Shiloni signed the document? The Hayehu Tzadika Rabbahav. Later on, in a few generations, we're going to learn in Sefer Melachim about Yehu HaMelech. Shenamar Vayomer Hashem la Yehu. Yana Asher Tivut Lasot Yasher B'nei V'chol Asher B'vav Yasita L'beis Achav B'nei Revim. You have done right in my eyes. Yesh V'lochal Kisa Yisrael. And I'm going to place you on the throne of Israel. Uksiv. V'yehu lo shamar l'lechas b'toras Hashem lokei Yisrael b'chol ha'vav. But Yehu did not follow all the halachas. Lo sar me'al chatos Yeravam asher achtis Yisrael. He didn't diverge from the sins that Yeravam did. My garmale. Why did Yehu follow Yeravam? Amar Abaya bris krusel etzvasim. There is a covenant to the mouth. Shenemar achav avadis abal ma'at Yehu yavdena harbe. That Achav the Melech worshiped Baal. Yehu will worship a lot. And once it's like Al Tiftach Pele Satan. Once the words escaped his lips, it happened. But Rava Amar Choitz Moshe Shilani Rava that there was a document that had still been preserved, which showed that Achia Hashiloni had agreed to everything that Yeravam pronounced. So it's in this manner, through the tzaddik Russia business, that Yeravam was able to convince the people to do this. The Zohar also says, not like the Rishonim, that Yeravam's intent was avodah zarah. It says in the Zohar, "Yeravam chata ve'echti, v'lo kamo she'amru b'ferish haksuvim, she'asa hagolim rak lemaris ha'ayin shelo lo yelchu yisrael Yushalayim." This was done for the purpose of avodah zarah. Pasuk Chavtes. Vayasam esachad beveis el, v'esachad nasan v'da. Beis El is where we just laid in Mincha tonight. That Yaakov Avinu has a dream. That's in Beveis Kel, and that's in the Chelik of Ephraim. So he put one egel there to show that the Shechina is there. Yaakov himself calls it the Beis Elokim, Ein Zekim, Beis Elokim, Bezer Shar Shamayim. The other he put in Dan, which is near the border of Lebanon, to make it equidistant, so that people throughout the 10 Shvatim could travel to whatever is closer. There's a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Tzadik Vav Amud Aleph. Rav Yochanan Kivin Sheba Oisud Tzadik Adan Tashash Kochel. Avram Avinu wandered throughout Eretz Yisrael to see the land that Hashem promised him. The Medrash says that when he saw Dan, he weakened. Rob Nebonav Shatim Lavad Avodah Zarah B'dan. He saw in the future that his children would worship Avodah Zarah there. Shenamar vayasam esachad beveis el v'esachad nasam b'dan. Ve'af osa Rasha, which referring to Nebuchadnezzar, lo nizgaber ad shegil dan. It says in Yirmiyahu midan nishma nachra susa, that Nebuchadnezzar, when he came to destroy Klal Yisrael, his process was in Dan. The Maharal said that the Dan was a place that it was connected to Avodah Zarah. The Maharal brings examples. Yesh mekomot ba'aretz muchanim l'dvarim miyuchadim. There's certain places in Eretz Yisrael that are prepared for certain things. Kimo shahaya Yerushalayim uchenet liot ir Elokim. Yerushalayim has been designated from the time of the Akedah, right, to be near Elokim. Kach yesh mekomot miyuchadim, says the Maharal, latzeit min asher hu echad. V'davar zayeh makom dan. One of these places is done. L'kach asa sham Yeravam es ha'egel. Hadavar hazeh yadua ki danu mokom muchan avodah zarah. V'yesh b'Yisrael tzad batzma shehem noitim achra avodah zarah. There are parts of Yisrael that are leans toward avodah zarah. Uleficha kasher bal dan, when Avram Avinu came to Dan, tashash kocho bavur zara shem isyachzim lavram. Avram has all these generations. Some of them may be all the isms, the communism, the Marxism, all the isms that Jews have been involved to. This is what we're talking about, the netiya towards avodah zarah, to different concepts.
Ernie, you forgot capitalism.
Well, Adam Smith, I don't think was Jewish, but
He changed his name for business purposes.
right.
Adam.
Adam, you're good, Adam.
Also, klam. Vayi adavar hazeh lechatos. This thing, the Navi now Yirmiyahu writes, this was all for sin. Vayalchu ha'am lifnei echad adon. And the people followed that they went to Dan, which we said is a place that's Mesugal Avodah Zarah. Remember, Pesel Micha was placed in Shevet Dan. The Bnei Dan were used to this. They were the Kohanim. They had already set up travel lodges for people. So Shevet Dan was intricately involved in all of this. Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayas is based Bamos. He made places that they could offer korbanos to these agolim. He saw that the people wanted to. It wasn't enough that they would just come, but he saw that they wanted to do korbanos. So he built places where there could be mizbechim, in order for them to be makriv korbanos. There were no bnei Levim. We learned last week that Levim went up to Yerushalayim. The Levim always stayed away from avodah zarah, right? Mila Hashem Elai. Moshe Rabbeinu said, and then all of them went to him. They didn't do the avodah zarah b'ma'aseh and not forever, say the Meforshim. And if he didn't give them the avodah of korbanos, they would have gone to Yerushalayim. Now, he didn't require trumas and maasros to be given to these kohanim. And they didn't need the kohanim to do the korbanos, they could do it themselves. He wanted to lower the prestige of the Kohanim, because the real Kohanim who had been to Yerushalayim would again seduce the people to try to come to Yerushalayim. Pasuk Lamed Beis. Vayas Yeravam Chag b'chodesh hashmini b'chamisha asar yom lachodesh. He took the month of Cheshvan, and the 15th day of the month, he turned it into Sukkot. Asher b'Yehuda. This like Sukkot in Yehuda, which is on Tesvav of Tishrei. Vayala mizbeach kenas abeves el zabech lagoli. He himself went up on the mizbeach to offer korbanos. Asher asa. Ve'mi beves el es kohanei bamot asher asa. All of the mitzvahs of Sukkot, with all of the mitzvahs, he moved it to Cheshvan. He switched the 7th month to the 8th month, so that they would be off calendar of Yerushalayim. Or those that were going up to Yerushalayim for Sukkot on the 7th month could spend time in the 8th month at his place, because they'd be home already. And they would do both. There's a debate to whether they were makriv korbanos both in Beisel and both in Don. I don't think that's important for us. Pasuk Lamed Gimel. Vayal al mizbech asher asa b'Beisel. So Yeravim went up and offered korbanos b'chamisha asher yom b'chodesh hashmini b'chodesh asher bada milibod. He made up that month in his heart. Vayas chag livnei Yisrael vayal al mizbech lahaktir. By the way, it's interesting. Rashi says the Torah says Chag Asif. That's when you should do the holiday of Sukkot. You know, in Judea, the Chag Asif is in the 7th month, but in the Galil, which is more north, there they did the Chag Asif was in the Cheshvan, was a little later, so it also fit the season of the year. The Radak says Yeravim didn't just move this holiday, but he moved other holidays. And also Rosh Chodesh, he moved. The word, and the proof that the Radak says that he moved Shabbos is from the word Bada, right? From the word milvad, right? Because it says milvad shapsos Hashem. So there was a rebellion against Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, that's where they did Kiddush HaChodesh. That's where they sanctified the new moon in the Lishkas HaGazis. So Yeravim wanted to show that he's not meshubed at all to Yerushalayim. He could do everything in Shechem. So he was Koveh Chadoshim in Shechem as well, says the Das Sofer. So let's summarize. Rabbi Schwab summarizes step by step what Yeravim did. First, he put 2 golden calves in Shechem. And let's learn, like the original Rishonim, that originally was not for Avodah Zarah. It was just like Judea has a Beit HaMikdash. These was like their banner of Yosef, Menashe of Ephraim in Shechem. Then he told them, you don't have to go up to Yerushalayim, but on regular times, but maybe he would allow them to go for the regel. That's when he said, Vayorm aleim rav lachem alot Yerushalayim. But then he said, Hinei Elohecha Yisrael asher luchu me'eretz Mitzrayim. So just like in Judea, there is a makom of the Shekhinah, the Beis HaMikdash, right? Bein Shnei HaKruvim. So we're going to make Shnei HaGolim, which will be a place for the Shekhinah. And up until then, they were still not offering korbanos there. Then he separated the 2 Agolim. Initially, the 2 Agolim was as a semel for Menashe and Ephraim, but he moved one in Beisel, one in Dan, that they should go and daven there. And again, the people didn't really recognize that this is being done Avodah Zarah, because it's being done step by step. Then Vayas is based Bamos. Now he made places for them to be makriv korbanos. That's clearly Avodah Zarah. And then he made a new holiday. And he went up and was makriv in front of the people. To the Agolim. Right? Because it says, Kein asa b'veit el zabech la'agolim. Here now they're actually shechting to the calves. Well, that's an act of Avodah Zarah. For example, in Masechet Avodah Zarah, we learn the various avodot. If you bow down to an idol, if you shecht in front of an idol, if you do zrika sadam to an idol, you're chayav misa. Those are acts of Avodah Zarah. That if 2 Eidim come and say that you did that, you're liable for capital punishment. So here is the step where they begin to worship Avodah Zarah mamish. So Rav Schwab points out, Yeravim starts with little things that didn't seem to be very significant. Bit by bit, it led to Avodah Zarah. Any comments? We're going to start Yud Gimel today as well, but does anybody have any comments on this so far, what we've learned about Yerava?
A lot of politics and a lot of bad things happen.
Right. So, Perek Yud Gimel. V'nei ish Elohim bam Yehuda bidvar Hashem el Beisel. An ish Elohim, Chazal tell us this is Edu Hanavi, who came from a shlichus of Hashem to Beis El, to Yeravam. And he finds Yeravam Omed al Mizbech lahaktir. And he's standing and being makriv on the Mizbech to the Agolim. We notice the Yirmiyah, the Navi doesn't tell us his name. We're going to see later this Ish Elohim is going to be Nichshal Bavera. So the Pasuk doesn't want to tell us who his name is. Who else in the Torah commits an Avera and we're not told his name? That's the Makoshesh Eitzim. Right? It says a person comes who's Makoshesh Eitzim, and we don't even know what Makoshesh means. Some say it means to chop it, some means to gather it. And Moshe didn't know the din. So Hashem says you have to kill him. So we have some Chazal that say who is the Makoshesh. Maybe it's Tzlovcha. But the Torah doesn't reveal his name because we don't want to embarrass the person because he sinned. Same thing here. We don't get the name of this Ish Elokim because eventually we're going to see he falls into sin. So the Navi is silent about his name. Vayikra Mizbech Dvar Hashem. He calls out to the Mizbech, Vayomer Mizbech Mizbeach. Ko Amar Hashem. Hinei ven nolad lebeis David, Yoshio Shmo. A nevuah is now being given that's going to happen hundreds of years from now. That a son is going to be born, Yoshio HaMelech. V'zovach alecha konei bamos hamaktirim alecha, v'atzamos adam yisrafu alecha. And he is going to burn on these mizbeachs the bones of the Kohanim who worship Avodah Zarah. We're going to learn it, Melachim Beis, about Yoshio HaMelech, who fights against Avodah Zarah. And this nevuah now is being given to Yeravam that Yoshio HaMelech is going to burn the bones of those Kohanim that are involved in Avodah Zarah there. Chazal, some say that he's referring to the bones of Yeravam, but he didn't say it befeirush because of Kavod HaMalchus. Now, it's interesting. Nolad is a past tense. It should say Yulad. It should be in the future. So the Navi, the Abarbanel, has a great arichus here, and the Malvin basically brings him, that when a Navi prophesies about the future, it's not that he's just saying, so he's seeing something that's going to happen. Hashem shows him the future as if he's there. And therefore he can say it in the past tense because for him it had happened already because he had seen it. Now there are 4 people in Jewish history that the Talmud Yerushalmi in Brachos gives us whose name are given to us before they were born. Now, you can think of some of them. Yitzchak, right?
Yitzchak.
Yishmael, Yoshiyahu, which we just learned, and Shlomo Melech, right? Eventually, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu appears to Avram, he says, "V'karata et shmo Yitzchak." Before Yitzchak is born, Avram is told, you're going to call him Yitzchak. By Yishmael, the same thing for Charati Yishmael Yishmael. Here in Yoshio, it says Hinei ven nolad lebeis David Yoshio Shmo. And we didn't learn it, but in Divrei Hayomim, when the Navi comes to David HaMelech, it says Hinei ven nolad lecha ki Shlomo yeshmo. David was also given the name before Shlomo was born. Pasuk Gimel. V'nasan bayom hahu mofes lemor. Right now, this Ish Elokim, this Navi, is going to give a mofes. Zeh mofes asher diber Hashem. Hinei hamizbech nikra v'nishpach hadesh nashar lo. This mizbech is going to be torn into two, and the ashes are going to pour down. Now, what is an mofes and what is an os? Os umofes. The first time we see this is by Paro. Ki yidaber alechem Paro lemor tnu lachem mofes. He's going to ask for a mofes. What does Rashi say there? Os lahodia sheyesh tzarach b'mishu sholech eschem. A sign that there's a purpose for the person that is sending you. The Chizkuni says, a mofesu is kedei laharos koach habori lasos kirtzona, to show the power of the Creator to do what He needs. And that's how the Rambam learns too. Kasher yirtz Elohim ba'ado b'yochiv yasem mofes b'shinui minago shel olam v'tivo, changing how the world works. Ki hamofet hanifla moreh sheyesh lo olam Elohim echadsho. It shows the world that there's a Creator who can create the world anew. V'yodea u'mashgiach v'yachol. He knows, He looks over, and He can do. Says the Ramban, Kasher ya mofet ha'u nigzar tchila mipi Navi. And when this mofes is predicted by a Navi, Yizbar mimenu od amitat nevuah, and the mofes takes place. It shows the truth of the prophecy. Ki daber limet adam v'gales od olav adam. That Hashem will speak to people and reveal His secrets to him. The Rambam says Moshe Rabbeinu lo eminu bo Yisrael te'aotos she'asa. Moshe Rabbeinu was not believed by the people because of his oisos. She'amamin al pi oisos yesh beliboy doifi. She'efshar she'yaseh ois bolet v'chishuv. Maybe a person who believes in somebody because of an os, maybe he's doing witchcraft. It's not complete emunah. Ela kol ha'oisos she'asa Moshe b'midbar lefi hatzorach hasa. Lo lavi ra'il neviah. They needed it. They needed water. He brought it, not to bring proof on his prophecy. Uvameh minu bo. How did Klal Yisrael believe him? B'maimed Har Sinai. She'einenu ra'u v'lo zar. Their eyes saw. V'oznenu shamu v'lo acher. Their own ears heard. Ha'esh, the fire, v'hakolos v'lapidim. V'hu nigash el arfel. He went to the dark. V'hakol midaber lav. They heard the voice of Hashem speak to him. V'anu shami Moshe Moshe lechem or. Lechem or lehen kach v'kach. How do we know that it's Maimed Har Sinai? Because it says, Hinei anochi ba elecha be'ave anan, ba'avur yishma am b'dabri imach, v'gam b'cha yaminu la'olam. The Sforno says the difference between an os and a mofes is the following. Ha-mofes hu lahoros al godel ha-mishaleach. The mofes shows how the person who's sending the Navi, how great he is. V'sharoi lishma b'kolo. And the one who was sent is powerful, and you should listen to him. Excuse me, the Mishaleach, the one who sends. Omnam ha'ot hu edut l'shaliach. The oath is witnessing for the Shaliach himself. Lefichach also Moshe oisos l'ne'am Yisrael. Shlo haya safek etzlam al gadol mishalech Hashem. It wasn't enough for them to know how great Hashem was. Aval haya l'shaliach Moshe mushalech emes. They wanted to know that Moshe is a true shaliach. One more pasuk. Vayhi kishmo melech et dvar yish Elohim. So the Yeravam hears this nevuah. Asher karala mizbech v'veisel, that he called out to the mizbech. He told the mizbech that it's going to split. Vayishlach Yeravam es yado al mizbech lemor tifsu. Yeravam stretches out his hand as if to say to his guards, grab him. Vativash yado asher shalach lav. And his hand shrunk. V'lo yachol hashiva elav. And he couldn't reach him. So he has another nace, this onesh Yeravam, that his arm withers. You notice, HaKadosh Baruch Hu it was more important, the covet of the tzaddik, this Navi, than the covet of Hashem himself. What is Yeravam doing? He's offering korbanos to Avodah Zarah. Why didn't Hashem dry up his hand then? Rashi brings, Yeravam omed umaktil avodas kachod lo yafshe yado, ushvilaz tzaddik yafshe yado. Because of the embarrassment of this tzaddik, he causes Yeravam's arm to shrink. Hainu the yavishas yado shel Yeravam haya onesh sheratzol livgo bechod ish Elokim. So that's a big limud for us. Okay, I'm going to stop here in this continuing saga of Yeravam. Any comments, questions, or Aro? Okay, well, have a good week, everybody. Same time, same station next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tetevach.